me. How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast from Stone Magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists. Long fans discover the creative workflow, other famous musicians, and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are also sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire code CBPOD at darkfusionsystems.com. There's podcast below. Wow, I messed that up really badly, but we are also the number 21 ranked podcast for metal music on millionpodcast.com. Yeah, still pretty cool to think about. 20 spots to go till number 1. Now let's go to our feature presentation. We're bringing you Metalcore. We're bringing you Synthwave. Bringing you sexy saxophones. That's right. For the first time in 4 years since 2021, Dreamwake is back on the podcast. They got a brand new album called Lost Years coming out on August 8th. We not only dive deeper into the expanded sound and how they use the saxophone on this to not only expand what they're doing with synth and metalcore as their core, we also go through these songs and why they put forward this feeling of looking back and remembering throughout the entire album, and what this means for the band going forward, because, man, there is so much more to be had that this album shows. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. 4 years ago, back in 2021, we brought you a band that was blending metalcore and synthwave all into one. Call it Wavecore, whatever you want, but my God, was it passionate, was it sexy, and was it heavy at the exact same time? And now 4 years later, one album under their belt, they're coming out with a second one called The Lost Years on August 8th, and not only do they keep that metalcore, Wavecore thing going, let me tell you, sexy Sax-Core is coming right in for this band as well. So please welcome Bobby, Dave, Kevin, and Andrew from Dreamwake back. So gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on, guys. 4 years is way too long. I mean, shit.
Agreed.
The last time we talked, I was still in my 20s.
Crazy.
Dude, so were we.
Dude,
Holy shit.
I'm still in my 20s. I got like a few months left. Sorry.
Not me and Andy. Me and Andy, we're the old boys. We got the salt and the pepper going on. No.
I was like, maybe one of you guys has the salt and the pepper going on, but you know what? They make, Just for Men hair dye for that if you really, really want it.
Yeah. Nah, rock that.
We
Rock
it,
baby.
embrace.
Rock it, embrace it, especially bringing that like synthwave, like 80s style to put some sax in there. You need that like salt and pepperness to get that rugged but also sexy look that you can get anybody you possibly want. That sounded really, really bad. Holy shit.
Let's scratch that off the record.
Wow, just get that like record scratch in there, and alrighty, let's go back to the actual main Chords podcast. But guys, it's been 4 years. What the hell's been up with you guys? Because it's been a while.
It has.
We've been
Straight
cooking.
grinding. Straight grinding. Yeah.
Cooking.
Yeah.
In the kitchen, straight in the kitchen. But we've we've been hard at work in the kitchen, cooking up some music over the past 4 years. Honestly, right after we dropped VR, we were writing new music for, this whole release. So it's been like a culmination of music from like 4 years now. It's crazy how long like the process kind of takes to kind of get from, point A to point B when it comes to like writing everything and like having it all finished. But yeah, just the past 4 years, we've been just really focusing on writing this whole record and like preparing for like the next, I guess, version in the next, I guess you can say, generation of a Dreamwake. It's we have a lot of ideas and we can really see like a very like huge path for this next year. I feel like things are starting to really work out for us, and we put a lot of really hard work into this whole album cycle. So it's like things are about to kick off now. And it's finally time to like, I guess, reap the rewards, in a way. We still have to go on the road and promote the album. There's lots of work to be done still, but like now it's time for us to kind of like release the music and kind of just promote it and just like bask in that for a minute, because we worked really hard for the past 4 years. But yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. Anyone else want to add anything? Or
No, I think you summed it up.
Yeah. We've just been, again, grinding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no surprise from what you guys have been from the last time we had you on. Again, VR released back in 2022. You guys signed with Unified. and now the Lost Years coming out as well. And 4 years of making this music, really trying to get it out there, it does take a while, and it does feel like, okay, you know, we've been grinding for so long, and now it's just, you're going on to the next step where it's the music is done, the music is all created, recorded, produced, everything. It is ready to go out there, and now it's not only time to get it out there, but continue to get out in front of the masses so that they can hear this sound as well. I mean, I mentioned it before we started recording. You guys were out on the road in June with Miss May I, Gideon, and now, especially after the album release show you guys got going on in Hartford, Connecticut, you're going to be following up with a tour with 1,000 Below as well. So the continued focus on getting the music out there and getting more and more people onto the Dreamwake bandwagon is continuing. You're just going on to the next step with a new album already released.
Yeah,
exactly.
1,000%. It's time for us to kind of like evolve and just embrace our next chapter. You know, like we really expanded a lot. I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but we really expanded like a lot on our sound and like our identity and our brand as a whole. So I feel like this is just our time to kind of just really set this whole next chapter up and like, you know, get going on it, you know?
Mhm.
So it's exciting. It's very exciting. We've been like working really, really hard with everything for the past 4 years, just to make sure everything is right. It's perfect. And like, you know, gets done on time. So it's now, again, it's finally time to just really enjoy what we've created and like, you know, promote it and work even harder on that, you know, so.
Preach.
Yeah, just keep preaching. It's the easy part is kind of done already, where it's, yeah, making music is not the easy part of it, but that's the part that gets you jazzed up. It's the part that gets you energized, the part you enjoy. Of course, playing live shows is also there too, but it's always like the extra promotional aspects that you have to do are going to take a different toll, and it's sometimes can feel like more of a chore than anything, and that takes a different mental capacity to go forward and go and do. So adding that on to, you know, touring as well, it's not something that's easy, but if you want to be successful in this, it's something you have to do, especially with an expanded sound that you guys came up with on the Lost Years. I'm done beating around the bush on that because you definitely expanded your sound going into this record. What was the process like, not only growing the sound of Dreamwake, but specifically with the Lost Years, really bringing the saxophone into light on a majority of these songs?
Dave, want to take that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like you said, I mean, the goal was to expand our sound, in every direction that we take it, kind of, you know, like we wanted to add more of a soft and emotional element to this album, and really take that further, as well as a lot of the heavy elements. We kind of wanted to take those a step further, and just really like, widen our range overall with this. And I feel like VR was kind of a process of us finding our sound, you know, really playing around with what works at more of a base level for Dreamwake. And you know, the whole process of just finding the saxophone. We only did it for Paradise at first, and then we got the recording back, and we were like, oh, okay, can you do the rest of the record? So it was just, you know, it was a process. Whereas this time it was definitely a lot more intentional while we were writing the instrumentals and shaping everything. We kind of knew we wanted to put sax in pretty much any spot that made sense. So it's, you know, it's a lot more intentional this time around with the sax, and you know, just the overall goal was to just expand everything and see an even deeper side of Dreamwake this time around. So yeah.
See, I can easily see that at the moment. Just going back to virtual reality, going back to the style that you guys had created on there, really trying to find your sound, especially bringing a lot of that synthwave style into a heavier bass. It's not something that's easy to do. We've seen other bands do it, but not in the way that Dreamwake has. You really focused heavier in on like sometimes the softer synths, or sometimes I would call them like the nostalgic synths that 80s synthwave could really pull forward. And being able to discover a niche within that really created the sound. But of course, you're always going to be wondering, what more can we do with this? What more can we explore? Because you're artists, you're going to want to explore that as time goes on. You're going to want to see what more you can do. And by adding the sax to it, it added an element of like sultry sexiness that the type of synthwave you guys work with not only really fits in, but also added this potential jazz element to what you're doing. So just by adding one instrument in certain spots, whether it's, in a bridge, whether it's in a post-chorus, sometimes in the intro as well, sometimes in the outro of these songs, as you built that in there, I think not only did you realize how much stronger this synth sound can really come out and be complemented by the saxophone, but at the same time really bring forward a much more deeper and more emotionally connective sound. When we hear that saxophone, especially on this record, we're feeling more within ourselves than really anything else that you could possibly get, unless you went into a very melodic ballad style of heavy music, which, let's say, I'm not necessarily sure is your guys' style, because what you guys have done with the synthwave influence, along with adding the sax in there, is something that you pretty much have not only nailed, but I've never really heard anybody else do something similar to it in this capacity.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think you nailed that for sure.
I think, like, to piggyback on that point, I think the reason behind all that is the fact that, like, obviously we're metalcore fans, but like before anything else, we're also all very genuine synthwave fans. Yeah. So in blending the two styles, I think both aspects come from a very genuine spot. And then, what we decided to do, whereas the sax parts in virtual reality, I feel like we're very like solo specific, like that was the showcase for that part. Yeah. Whereas now we treated the sax on the Lost Years as another addition to Dreamwake. So like we didn't want to just have one folk. I mean, if that's all it called for, that's all it called for. But like weaving that in utilizing that more as a tool and an addition to our sound, I think really made the Lost Years stand out in comparison to virtual reality.
Yeah. I'll say that's a great point to make. And even I'm going to piggyback on that and add too. We're just going to keep adding on top that this is like point cubed at this point. But when it came to the saxophone, especially if you listen to the singles, you're like, okay, the sax is going to be definitely featured on this album. The issue then comes in, especially in the minds of fans, where you just got to roll with me on this one, where you guys didn't really do it as much in virtual reality, but when you did it, it was very expressive in the moments. You really forcefully put it in certain spots to really make it stand out. And when you have that in, all the singles so far, I have a feeling that an audience that is getting to know you guys might be thinking, oh, they're going to shoehorn the sax in here in every single song, in every single spot where it is going to be the most standout thing. But that's not what you did. You learned exactly where to put the saxophone to have it add to the experience overall and add to the overall emotion in the song, and not have it necessarily be the most prominent thing that's going to stand out in every single song. Will it be a prominent part of certain songs? Absolutely, because that's what's going to call for, but not every single song called for it, and you rolled with it with how it was going to be written. You let it be what it was going to be, which was an added piece, not the featured piece in every single thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, we take pride as a whole, like with every piece of the writing we do and every piece of this band, like me and Bob always start with just instrumentals, and it's not done until every single layer and every piece that we put in is impressive to us, and we want all the members on stage to be doing their absolute best. And, while the sax is a very important part that kind of makes us stand out, we also still want to make sure the rest of the band is showcased as a metalcore band in some aspects too, because that's where it all started for us, so. Yeah.
I'll say the other thing that's always interesting when it comes to adding a sound like that, especially as a main stage, just given the way that it is it really complements some of those cleaner vocals and those soothing, more softer parts a lot better than it would like a heavier backing or, some unclean vocals. But of course, you guys put those in here throughout the album as well, and throughout some of these songs, primarily featuring them on some songs, especially in the latter half of the album. And it helps make those songs pieces stand out in contrast. So especially when writing with a heavier backing style that uses both clean and unclean vocals, with that saxophone added in there, and of course with the synthwave added in there, how did you balance out when to use those unclean pieces to really amplify the songs when they were heavily featured?
That's probably Bobby.
I feel like I saved I feel like I guess all of like the unclean and like screaming for like the parts that really stood out and like really needed to like let the energy out in like a more aggressive, I guess, fashion. Um, I didn't want to just like have our album be like mostly screaming. Like I take a lot of pride in like melody and like I love melody. It's like my favorite piece of music. You know, it's one of the main components, but it's still like something that I just really have always loved my whole life. So I really wanted to focus on getting showcasing more of like, you know, the melody or the more melodic side of my vocals for this record. But I would throw in the uncleans or the screams, and all those parts where like it was really heavy and like the emotion was just very aggressive and like it kind of just was that part where like, you know, the songs were kind of flowing, but they kind of like tend to rise and then they fall and rise and fall throughout. So I feel like all those ports or all those points when it kind of like the momentum shifts is when I would use the, you know, the screaming for like all the heavy parts to really just get that like aggressive emotion out and really get that part of or like that dynamic of the band, I guess, like more like I guess justified. I don't know, but yeah, I just focus on making more of those parts just meaningful. I'm not just making, you know, just not throwing in them, you know, for the whole song. It was meant to be there for that specific reason. So, but yeah.
Oh, I totally get that, because if you were just going to throw it in there for every single song, it wouldn't have been something where it wouldn't have necessarily fit or it wouldn't necessarily pulled that contrast out as much as it did. But if you'd have thrown it in for every single song, kind of in a similar fashion, like if you would have done the sax in a similar fashion the way you did on virtual reality, then the songs would have all sort of run together and not had the dynamic flow, especially when we get later on in the album, because that's something I was waiting for. I'm like, I've seen the unclean bits come in and out at certain times, but I haven't really seen anything where it really comes at you. Of course, until you hear the single Oasis and you're like, okay, now it's coming right at you. But you see that as piece that it's needed on that song. You're not seeing it as something that's shoehorned into every single song because it has to follow a specific structure. You guys not following a specific structure in how you have to layer these songs or how these songs are going to be sounding, whether it instrumentally, with the synthwave backing, with whatever the vocal style is. You're just letting it dictate itself with however you feel at that moment. And that's exactly what you should be doing, which is what you did here.
Agreed. Yeah, it's just we all like tend to let it flow. Like when, especially if like me and Dave are like kind of just getting together, or if it's like all of us or whoever's here, like it just kind of just flows. Nothing is forced. If like we get together for a couple hours and we get like maybe one bar of music done, then that's it is what it is. But like that has happened before. It's happened plenty of times. But like it's just like, yeah, we kind of just let each song kind of just flow how it's supposed to flow. We like everything is meant to be there for a specific reason. Like we take a lot of time on the structure of the song and then like we refine it like a million times and until we're like 1000% satisfied and like we feel like everything is, you know, has, you know, meaning. Like there's no like filler parts, I guess, so to speak. But yeah.
Yeah, there really are no filler parts on here. And one thing I specifically thought of was, okay, especially this is what a casual fan will go through, but then you got to just listen to me with this. If you're looking at the album set times and everything, and you look at the song times, there's a song that's in the middle that could seem like, okay, this could be a filler. This could be like an interlude type thing. But when you listen to it, and that is song number 6, which is VHS Dreams, it's something completely different with especially how it creates this moment as an interlude, what it does to your mind given these type of sax progression that's used, type of little melody that's used in there, the specific programming in the back to add the synth wave to it. It literally makes you feel like you're going down a nostalgia trip in your brain because you hear the little kids screaming in there. They're playing, you're going back to this time where you feel like there's like a sense of normalcy in the most suave way where you're not worried about bills. You're not worried about, you know, adult responsibilities. You can just relax and enjoy the moment for what it is like you did when you were a kid. And that specifically leads the second half of the album to have a little bit of a different mindset, what you're focusing on as you go through it. So on the surface, just because of in the age of Spotify and the age of streaming, you see a song that has has a much shorter time frame than everything else, you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely going to be an interlude. But no, this takes those last 6 songs on the album and purposely gives you a different perspective on what they mean and how it's going to make you feel overall. So yeah, you guys didn't waste anything when it came to the musicality on this album.
Dude, that's absolutely insane that you say that, because honestly, I think all the songs, you know, one of the other things that we take a lot of pride in is how the songs are.
I just spilled water all over myself.
Nice.
I thought I had a cap on this, and I'm like, nope, there goes all that. So this will be
we
fun.
Ball, dude. I love it. Anyway, all the songs are, you know, they all have a purpose, and I think you summed it up the best when you said that song puts you in the right state of mind for the next songs on the album. And it absolutely does bring you back to that time. We tried to do that in the best way. And the other fun fact from that, which Bobby can entertain this, is the kids that you hear are actually ripped from Bobby's home video. So that's Bobby and his sister as children.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually, to be more specific, it's a home video of my 3rd birthday party. So it was just like a very like magical time, a very like happy time in my life, that I cherish a lot. So, like this album kind of reflects on childhood and just kind of turning the page and like,
Sorry if you didn't want me to say that.
no, this is, I was going to bring it up. But yeah, the album, the album kind of reflects on, you know, childhood and just like memories, and then, but like also like moving forward and like leaving those memories behind and, you know, becoming who you're meant to become. But, so that being said, I feel like, I wanted like the album to kind of take a break for a second and kind of just take a step back and just make you feel that specific emotion of just like that warm, like nostalgic, like bittersweet feeling of, you know, being a kid again and not having any responsibilities. So yeah, so I ripped the audio from I like had to like, it's an actual tape, so I had to like digitize it. I had to get it on, like on my computer, then I like ripped the audio from it, and then I was messing around with it. But yeah, it's just really cool. It's like my 3rd birthday party, and then like at the end of it, you can hear like me, or I think it was me like opening presents, and I'm like, it's rollerblades, and then it kind of fades out at the end. And it's just like a very like, it always like brings a tear to my eye almost like every time I'm listening to it, because it's just so like that. It was just an awesome time in my life, and it's cool that I got to kind of like, you know, capture that feeling with that audio. But yeah.
Well, not only that, but it adds a legitimacy to the exact idea of what this album is. I mean, you think about the title, The Lost Years, and everyone thinks about the lost years as the time you can't get back or the time you wish you go back and potentially, you know, either do differently or have a much larger appreciation for when you were in it. And for most people, that's being a kid. That's being, you know, kind of not having that responsibility and just being able to explore life the way that you want to and have this idea that kind of in your head that, you know, the world is okay before adult responsibilities hit or the reality of what is actually the world hits. So you have this just positive outlook on everything when, you know, you're 3 or 4 years old and you get rollerblades, or you're 5 or 6 years old and you open up your first Game Boy Color and the first game you ever have is Pokemon Gold version. Yeah, I know I'm going directly for my life too on that.
Hell yeah.
But by calling it The Lost Years, it kind of gives you that reflective piece. And by going into VHS Dreams, it reinforces that, but in a much stronger way, because when you're thinking the lost years, you might be thinking in a different way of what those lost years might be, whether it's, you know, if you're older, if you know, you're in your 50s and 60s, you might be thinking about a time when you were in your 20s or when you were in college. Heck, even when you're in your 30s, you might be thinking about back at that time as well. But by going into VHS Dreams and having it be that sound, it takes you back to when you were a kid, takes you back to when you were small. And it gives those 6 songs at the end of it a much more focused approach as to what you're like really focusing in on, the emotions you're really connecting with. And that's why it's needed, because it narrows it down, but it gives us all a point in time to think about when life wasn't that complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like your I almost forgot that this was the whole point moment on the album. You know, you know, it's a bit of a chaos. I feel like the first 5 are like a bit chaotic in a way, like they all bring forth a different vibe, but it's that one moment on the album where you just really realize what the whole point of the album is, you know, and in the weirdest way, with that not even really being a metal song. It's just, you know, it tells you point blank what the message we're trying to deliver on this one, you know?
Yeah, it absolutely recenters you in that mindset. Because I'm looking at the songs that come before it too, and it all points back to a time in the past, but it all points back to times in the past where you're not necessarily sure where they could go. You could go back to that childhood moment, but you could go back to different spots. Daydream. You could go back to the times when you were, early in your like working career, and you were just sitting there thinking and daydream about the great things that you could do. Dark Eternal, you could think about, the dark times that you had in life or dark times you have going forward. Stargazer seems like it's something that you're looking out into the stars and seeing what the possibility is going forward. But then you get After VHS Dreams, Afterglow. Now there's a sheen on that, pastime. Supernova, White Noise, going back to those times where things just didn't seem like they were as complicated. Oasis being that period and being that thing that you go back to that is just like the blooming green in a desert of who knows what. Static Haze, that reminder that it's still there, but you're kind of in a weird haze with it because you always feel about like you're losing your inner child due to the fact of how time goes as an adult and the different things you go through, the different responsibilities you have, how your mindset changes. And then Heatwave, kind of just realizing that, you can still have that inner child in you. Yeah, you're still an adult, but that child doesn't have to die, and it can come back like an absolute heat wave, and you can be positive. You can have a transformation. You can be the person that the 10-year-old you would look up and say, wow. Not like a 10-year-old you looking up and being like, what the hell did you do to ruin me? Because I'm pretty sure 10-year-old you guys is looking at like, wait, you guys are playing music. You guys are coming out with your second album, and you guys have done this with this sound? Whoa.
Yeah.
For real.
Oh, yeah.
I just love the iteration of each song you just put out, because that was better than I could describe it, to be honest. That was great.
Spot on.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
I still need that. I brought this up many times in other episodes. I need a board right here that just says nailed it. And every time I hear it, yeah, you just nailed it. Just grab a hammer and smack it. And put
Yeah, or
nails
like
in
a
it.
gong or something, like a mini gong.
I'm not sure how well that would go over because every time you just be talking, all of a sudden you just hear gong. And then the reverb for the next minute would be kind of nuts.
It would add a good meme effect to it. It's all right.
Oh, I'm pretty sure the meme effect of this episode is me dumping water on myself on accident.
That's awesome. Hey, you're rolling with it though.
Hey, I'm just glad you guys didn't do it. I did it with water. You guys got beer out there. We don't waste beer here.
No party fouls here.
No, as I'm wearing a shirt that literally is supporting Wisconsin born and raised beer that I've had for like 10 years.
Nice.
So
Love it.
can't help it. But
At least you didn't spill beer on it.
exactly. I have spilled beer on it before, but that's because I was wearing this shirt while working as a merchandiser for a beer distributor. So
that's
yeah,
the designated spill shirt.
it was a designated spill shirt. Yes, yes, very
there
much
it is.
so.
All right. Well, it's doing its job then.
It absolutely is. Well, guys, I was looking through the album, and of course, right now, there are 3 singles that are out on the album right now. Afterglow, Oasis, and Heatwave, which means there are 9 other songs yet to be released on this record. We did go a little bit into VHS streams, so if you want to include this one in there, you can. But my question to each of you guys is now this. It's not what your favorite song is, because I don't want you to pick a favorite child. That doesn't seem easy. This is different. Out of those songs that have yet to be released and will be released on release day, which is the one you are most excited for people to hear and why?
Oh,
I can go. Or do you got you?
Let's go down the line.
Yeah,
Go down the line.
It's very brief, but probably Cold Summer. It just it just hits so hard in the feels, and I'm not going to explain until you listeners hear it, because it will hit you in the feels. I want to see everyone cry at our shows, but in the good way. It's a bonding moment.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Stargazer, actually. That one is just a perfect encompassment of Dreamwake, in my opinion. I think it's got a little bit of everything that we have to offer, minus a guitar solo, but that's fine. There's enough guitar work in it. And the breakdown in the middle, I think, is my favorite one on the entire album. I'm not gonna lie. It's just, it hits every time for me. It's one, I think it's gonna be like being the first song on the album. I really think it's gonna give people a wow factor at multiple moments in the song, and I'm just I'm excited for people to experience that for the first time.
I'm going to say Cold Summer. Now, since that you said this will be coming out on album release day, I won't really give any spoilers, but I will say it's a very emotional song that pulls at the heartstrings in like a very good way. Um, in a way that everybody in one way, shape, or form can actually relate to. And I think it's the reason that that song, even though it's not a single, is going to resonate with so many people because the lyrics can be interpreted in different ways to match different feelings, but also just the melody is in such a way that even if there were no lyrics, it's still going to make you feel something.
I have two because I feel bad saying Cold Summer, even though I was going to say it. We kind of like, oh, we're all on the same page here, but
You can
again,
like in a band or something.
yeah, not gonna give it away like they said, but it kind of just talks. It's like talks a lot about just like what the whole theme of the album's about, just like moving on, just like honestly, like one day waking up, like you kind of just feel like I remember being a kid, like summertime was always so like just like so sick. Like you're off from school, you wake up, you get to go see your friends and like do all this cool stuff, go on vacation, whatever. But if you're like it's like one day I woke up and just it didn't feel like that anymore, and it was just and everything kind of just felt different. So I feel like that for me, it's like that's what the whole album's mainly about. But that's like that's the song I would take away most from this whole album. But I would also say Supernova because I feel like it has a good dynamic of our sound. Lyrically, I wrote that like around like COVID-ish times, post-COVID, around 2021 or something like that. But I was kind of going through a fair share of mental stuff. So that was like my song where I kind of just like the first of like I guess some of these songs on the album, but where I kind of just like dove into like this next chapter of like what I was pulling from for like source material and whatnot. So I feel like that was like one of the first ones that kind of got the ball rolling for me lyrically. And honestly, it's got a sick ass breakdown at the end, which is like one of the best on the album. So yeah, those two songs for sure.
I would like to add a bonus song, if that's okay. Specifically for one cool reason that was, I mean, on my end, but Daydream as well. I'm excited for everyone to hear that. That one held a cool moment for me in the studio. I recorded a chorus on the song for the first time. I'd never done something like that, and Bobby has been really encouraging with my vocals and getting me implemented in certain spots. So that was just a cool moment for me. That's also a very special song for me. So yeah, gonna be a cool one.
I still like the fact that even though Cold Summer seemed like the runaway favorite in the end, eventually there were more songs that were given out here. So there's a lot for us to really look into. Cold Summer is definitely one of those songs, in my opinion, that when I first listened to it, especially with the kind of metalcore style that's back there, reminded me of a band called The Scent Like Wolves. And what they did on their 2021 album, really, it's like the overall tone and how it really brings back that rush of a memory, but it's not necessarily the best memory. Like what you brought up with Cold Summer, where, everyone remembers what summers were like as a kid. You were just running outside, you jump in the pool, play basketball in the driveway. If the ice cream man was coming down the street, you'd run after him and try and get your SpongeBob ice cream because the eyeballs were gumballs. Yep. And it was just so much fun. And then all of a sudden, one day at some point in time, and everyone experiences this, you wake up in a summer day and it just doesn't feel that way anymore. And we can all kind of it's like you don't remember the exact day at this point in time, but you know what year it was. Everyone always knows what year it is. So it kind of takes you back to that time of the split between what summer is now to you and what summer was to you as a kid, and how magical of a moment it was, and how it's like we can always try and get it back, but that time has kind of passed, unfortunately. It kind of sucks. Yeah. But it has like more of like a sultry feel to it that really is needed on that song. But one of them that specifically stood out to me, it was the first song, Stargazer, because what I thought about with that one was when it opens up the album with imposing more of that sexy and sultry 80s style of synthwave into metalcore, but with a huge upgrade with the sax coming out in here. it perfectly encompasses not only the beauty that this all adds into the style, but where Dreamwake is currently at as a band in terms of putting that sound all together, from the heavier side to the synthwave to adding the sax in there. I think that's one that absolutely encompasses everything from the jump, and then you get to explore it a lot more throughout the rest of the album. So having it as number one, I think, was the great pick, and that was the one that sold me on the album, even when I started listening through it, because I'm like, this ain't released a single. I want to hear what song number one has, and that's the one that sold me on the album right from the get-go.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah, I feel like Mike.
No.
I feel like it really encapsulates like what the entire album is going to be, kind of just includes each piece, like, lyrically, melodically, structure wise. It's just like every piece that we have there with the saxophone, like it kind of just, it goes to every corner,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that song is over, it kind of just like slowly kind of goes through all of those phases. But yeah, Stargazer kind of just definitely gives you a taste of like every piece of what's to come.
Say, however, there was one song on this album, I had to go and find it, what I wrote down for it, that I kind of fell back on. I'm just thought, I couldn't believe that they kind of went this route. But my God, does it work. And that is song number 4 with Memories. And the reason I said that is because it had this softer and somewhat happier, nostalgia-driven synth that really put you into more of a positive light, because it's kind of the opposite of Cold Summer, where instead of being, taken back by the time that was and how you're not going to have anymore, you're looking at memories of the times you had and how great those times were.
Yeah.
So that's what that synth really drives it. But it's the rest of the instrumental backing. I thought it took inspiration, especially the guitar, from like Killswitch Engage, but specifically the Howard Jones era of Killswitch Engage.
Yeah.
It brought a ferocity, but this positivity to the song that's evoked all over the place. That positivity power is turned up to 11, the energy is turned up to 12, and it's all worked out in the song in the best possible way. That's the one that stood out to me, and I thought, I couldn't believe you guys actually went that route with the backing on the instrumentals. But my God, did that contrast work out so damn well.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Memories is a fun one.
Yeah, so if anyone ever asks, it's like, well, which ones are the ones that you guys like? It's like, well, you can pick like almost any of them that are on this record, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah,
we just
stoked
went
for
through
the
about
whole
6 of
album.
them. I mean, if we wanted to, we could go through the whole entire thing. Which ones we got left that aren't singles? We've got Dark Eternal left. We got White Noise, and we got Static Haze left. So, yeah, we got 3 that we haven't actually mentioned.
Yeah,
And those are all bangers too. so-
they're all great.
They're all bangers and they're all their own. So.
They're all on there for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all bangers. I even put Dark Eternal had this feeling of like a spiritual awakening that hits, especially towards the end. I'm just taking a look at like the quick little hits I had on that. White Noise was something that was a little interesting because it had this feeling of just going out there and doing everything you guys knew what to do best and putting it into a song. And even though it's like, okay, white noise, people kind of think of white noise as a background noise. But if people are going to have a background noise too, if they want that positivity in there, they're going to want to get the best possible thing they can get. And by putting all the best things you guys have into a song, it absolutely hits. But then Static Haze, that's the one that I also stuck out with in my mind too, similar to Oasis, because that's when we saw more of those heavier Uncleans really make more of a focus in here. And that's where the contrast that you can see and how the synth and the sax really contrast against the heaviness, where both pieces stand out in the best capacity. That song is really where it shines.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
No, I agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah, there weren't too many like heavy songs or like heavy like driven, I guess, parts. I mean, everything is like heavy in its own way, but when it comes to like songs like Oasis or Static Haze, like there's like only a few though. But they're there for a reason. Like I feel like the album kind of just flows through all like a bunch of different emotions, and like whether it be sadness or anger or happiness or whatever it may be, kind of just every song has its own purpose. So like we needed to have 2 songs. Plus, like Dave and I are like into really heavy music. Dave listens to Bill Jarta, like a lot of like fall low tune riffs. So like we always have a good time, kind of just sitting down and like working on something heavy. But yeah.
but you can continue to see the expanded sound that this album portrays. We just went through, again, we didn't go through the singles, but we went through every single other one of those songs, and you can see where the heaviness comes in. You can see where the sax comes in. You can see where the different progressions come in, the different styles come in. You can see where the different emotions and overall emotive feels are coming out of these songs. You're seeing the expanded sound that Dreamwake has when it comes to the Lost Years. And the best part about it is, compared to where virtual reality was, it's much more expansive. But what the Lost Years, I think, does even better that no one realizes is it sets you guys up to try so many other new things that you can with a saxophone, that you can with Synthwave, that you can with your heavier sound, whether it's going super duper heavy, like something on Oasis or Static Case, or going with something softer and a little bit more clean at the same time. There's so much more yet to be explored with different influence, different melodies, different ideas, and we're just seeing the surface here on the Lost Years.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yep.
I agree
Absolutely.
here. We're gonna be definitely like we're always experimenting and like messing with new sounds, and I feel like we've already like been discussing like what we kind of want to do for this next cycle after this album. So some
Yeah.
pretty cool stuff. But go ahead.
Yeah, we've full transparency. We've already been writing for new stuff, and the way we're already expanding our synth end of things is pretty sick. That's all I'll say about it. But we're expanding. We're going even further for sure.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be a good time. It always is.
absolutely.
Like, now I'm curious to see exactly where you're going to be expanding with the synth style, but also
Everywhere.
where this synth idea is going. What other pieces can you add to it, or what other influences or what other potential features could you add to it to really expand that synth sound? There are plenty of synthwave artists that are still out there that are really doing some incredible things. And plus, if you go back to when synthwave was really popular in the 80s, you never know what you can pick up on. You never know what you can find. But there might be something there that just inspires you in terms of a tone or a sound or progression that you just want to use. And it may become the song that you absolutely need, or it may become the piece that puts the cherry on top of a progression song that you just wanted to make sure gets out there in the best, most emotional way you possibly can, create.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, when the album comes out, I know you guys got the album release show on August 8th, and then you're following up with a tour with 1,000 Below. But you already had that tour with Miss May I and Gideon earlier, and you saw what the reaction was to a couple of these songs. So, don't include myself in this, because we just talked about this for probably, at least 40 minutes. But when it comes to so far with the singles, the fan reaction, what have you seen and what have you been surprised by?
With the Miss May I tour, I felt like we actually did play Oasis before it came out on that tour, and people popped off for that song. It's one of the heavy hitter songs, so felt like that resonated really well, especially with that kind of market. Oasis was pretty much the heavy hitter for that one. So
Yeah, I was gonna say the same song just for the reason of playing a brand new one that's not released, you never really know what to expect from a crowd reaction. A lot of the times they'll just stand there like, so it was cool to see a lot of movement and energy and a lot of excitement for that song. So yeah, for sure.
Especially like with it being like one of our heaviest songs we've ever written. Like, we've always had like heavy parts, and like we're like a heavy-ish band, but just pulling that one out of the bag, and just kind of, without any warning, and seeing how people received it, I feel like people really embrace that side. And actually, like, now seeing it's like the reception, like online, just like all the comments, like people are like really about like the super like energetic and like heavier side of our sound. So it's really like reassuring to know that like we have the ability to kind of just go in any corner with our sound, and like people get really hyped over it. So it's like we can really go in any direction we want to, without losing our core sound, of course. But we can kind of push like any boundary. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see that Oasis was like a fan favorite from that. So yeah.
Well, I remember from the Milwaukee show specifically, because, again, there were a lot of my friends there, because when we found out that, Gideon was playing, we wanted to be in on it. When we found out that it was at the bar stage and you could, no barricade stage dive off of that, we all wanted in as heavy as possible because there was going to be a wild time. But when you guys went on stage, all of a sudden, I remember people were getting into it. And then when the sax breaks would come out and you would just get that difference out, everyone kind of it was like you got knocked in the chest like, ooh, but not like a ooh. It was more like a ooh. Like you're really, really not sure what just happened. You still want to hit people like crazy, but you're just enjoying this at the moment. I had a friend that after the show, he wanted to see if you guys had like a Clevelander style, like Miami Vice 1980s like t-shirt that had it say Sax-Core on it. He's like, I wanted to buy that shirt so bad, but they didn't have exactly what I wanted, and no, I'm mad. I'm like, well, I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell him when I talk to him.
We'll take notes.
Sax-Core. All right.
Sax-Core.
And if you need to get a cartoon version of the epic sax man just going balls to the wall on a saxophone, just
Now we're gonna print a picture of Kellen doing that on the front of it. That's what we're gonna do.
But he's got to not be wearing a shirt and have big ass sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Deal.
Photoshop is a hell of a drug.
Hey man, if Photoshop works, whatever you can get going out with it. However, the best, I love what you brought about with that mismatcher was you're able to bring out something heavy like Oasis, and the fans were really able to get into it. But with the different kind of style and different kind of sound that Thousand Below puts out with who you're going to be supporting, post album release, it allows you guys to play more of these songs and show off more of that synthy side, more off of the the sax inclusion in there, and some of the. Not to say soft, but some of the cleaner stuff compared to some of the heavier stuff that more fans will be. I'm not going to say, fans will be, I'm going to say more in tune to literally at that show because it's more of an expected sort of thing. Because you brought them out on the Miss May I tour. Would I have enjoyed them? Yeah, I would have absolutely enjoyed them. You may have thrown off the crowd a little bit too much, but I understand what you're doing. And now it gives you the chance to really open up that sound even more and show people a much more expanded side live with the Lost Years fully out.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
100%.
I'm excited to
Stargazer.
Yeah.
Oh, open with
I didn't say
Stargazer.
that.
It's going to be beautiful.
We might.
It's a possibility, but
a
after
possi-
that tour and going through the rest of 2025 into 2026, what you guys got in store for us? What else can we expect from Dreamwake?
We're gonna be cooking in the kitchen. We're gonna be really yeah.
process. The writing process, it never stops. We're gonna be we're already kind of like Dave said, we already have some songs kind of cooking already. So I feel like after we get or Kevin said it, so whoever said it, I'm sorry, forgive me. But for real, we're just gonna be focusing on kind of just getting the ball rolling on this next post this Lost Years album cycle, and then as well as like really focusing on like just pushing it and promoting this album as much as we can. We'll just see what next year happens or what it holds for us. Honestly, we have this Thousand Below tour. We're doing like our release show before we go on that tour, and then we'll see what happens. We're gonna be hard at work no matter what. Definitely writing. I feel like writing is the main thing.
Yeah, winter writing mode for sure.
Yeah. But
just setting ourselves up for a really successful 2026.
Yeah, 1000%.
And that's what we want to see here. We want to see you guys have a successful, release year and a successful 2026 as well. We want to see you guys end up getting on more tours. We want to see you guys have to tour over in Europe and bring that style to the Europeans over there as well. We also want to see Dreamwake play a good number of the, Danny Wimmer Presents festivals here in the U.S. to get in front of a much larger audience, and at the same time, expand their sound and palette to what this sound truly is, because it would throw them off massively, especially the beginning. But it's going to hook them after one song.
Yep.
You never know. I mean, you could see a 2025 run or 2026 run here in the U.S. Imminence comes back, brings back that violin. And what complements a violin? A saxophone.
A saxophone. Let's do it. Let's run it back.
Run it back, baby. All right, guys, before we get going, I got one more question to wrap this up. It's something I like to ask every artist. I've been doing this for the past 2 years, and I'm bringing it to you as well. Cool. Now, we could be here all day if I didn't put a limit on this. I normally do 3, but there are 4 of you, so I want 1 from each, okay? 1 from each. So my question is, can you guys name me a band or artist that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
I know who Dave's gonna say already.
The same as Bob.
I gotta think a little bit.
I'm stealing Bob's because I have the mic first. It's called okay, cool. It's called they're called Via Nova. I don't know if you heard of them. I believe they're from Germany. Definitely the most unique metal act I've seen in a long time. They just have this vibe about them. I don't know. You just got to check them out. Via Nova.
Very unique.
They just have really cool and tight, heavy vibes, but they've got this like jazzy.
I'm not even sure what.
It's like it's sparkly. Like they got this like sparkly vibe about them. I don't know how else to describe it.
70s asking away.
Yeah, it's so weird, but it's
like sorry if we're completely.
yeah. This is all good things, but yeah, Via Nova, they're so sick. So that's my choice.
Kevin.
They're relatively new, but they are great guys. I would like to shout out Knight Rider. I feel like they deserve a lot of more attention towards them. They're similar style to us. Great dudes, great sound. They're actually on our headliner. So yeah, shout out Knight Rider.
Shout out Knight Rider. We love you guys.
Love you, Dennis.
I'd say for me, mine's a bit different. It's not really a band. It's like I think it's just an artist, but Sunglasses Kid. I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's like a specific synthwave artist, but their music is very slow. It's really good, like nighttime, like ambient music. It kind of just gives off these like it's like it uses like a lot of sax, and it kind of like the vibe that I get from like the music or most of the music is just like back like an 80s like cop like love drama in a way. If that makes any sense, with like the blinds kind of have closed and like the sun kind of like coming through. I don't know, it's very hard to describe, but yeah, I just think that they're really good artists, and I love listening to their music. So I'd like to see some more people show some love to Sunglasses Kid, because the saxophone goes so crazy on that music. So
Great night drive music.
yeah, fantastic. If we're driving on a tour, me and Kevin, like usually like the nighttime drivers, we're always bumping like Sunglasses Kid or like the Midnight or something like that. But yeah.
Mine's not really gonna be a shocker. I don't really have a good one. I feel like they're well known, they're huge now, but they're also not. I think Bill Murray is super underrated. So shout out them, because I just love their fucking music. They do a bunch of cool different shit and like blend, different styles, and the last album was kind of country driven, but like I don't know, it's just sick.
Yeah, it's definitely like its own thing. I agree. And shout out Gabby.
Yeah, also shout out Gabby Rose.
We played one show with her, and then she toured with the Jonas Brothers. It was wild.
That is kind of wild, but those are some great picks as well. And don't worry about the Bill Murray pick. Many people have said that because they're like, yeah, this band is really getting big, but they kind of should be bigger. So we're going to put them there. And I'm like, yeah, it fits.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to listen to Sunglasses Kid. Like, I feel like I should just, after this episode, because it is getting pretty dark out there, just go for a drive for like a half hour and just see what happens.
Check it
Do
out.
it.
Yeah,
Please.
they are sick. Yeah.
I'm going to do it just on your recommendation. So I got to thank for those recommendations. And boys, I got to thank you for taking the time tonight to be able to talk to us all about the brand new Lost Years and just being who you are. So I want to thank you for that. And we're going to close this episode with three things. First things first, when it comes to Dreamwake, when it comes to the Lost Years, the brand new, I'm coming out on August 8th, giving you a sultry, saxy, synthwave, wavecore, metalcore infusion. Ooh, yeah. Go subscribe to the podcast where it says Find Dreamwake online. Link symbols for everything, where you can find them online, for social media, where you can find their videos on YouTube, where you can find the album when it comes out. You can pre-save it, pre-order it, where you can get some merch, and where you can go find them playing their next live show near you. Go subscribe to the podcast. Well, it's going to be all down there for you. And now it's time for number 2. Gentlemen, last time I do on the podcast, I said first I can see you perform live. When I find you, first round's on me. Well, I saw you perform live back in June, and I wasn't able to find you. So unfortunately, first 2 rounds are on me next time I see you play live.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We'll take you up on that offer.
Yes. Listen.
Or if it's something, it depends on the venue too. If it's a venue where all of a sudden I can easily find my way to, the good old van, the good old bus, whatever it is, and you get a knock on the door and you find out that it's the beer man. Yeah, it'll be me.
Sounds good.
And you'll be surprised with how much it comes along with it.
Beer Man is welcome in our bus at any point in time.
Yes.
Next time we're around, just message one of us on social media. We'll hang out.
Ooh,
All right.
perfect. Sounds good. So now
Yeah.
it's time for number 3, gentlemen. We cannot end this episode by saying goodbye. This way too final. Even though it's been 4 years, it was well worth the wait. But I don't want to wait that long next time. So I do want to bring back in the podcast again, coming up soon. I also have to make sure I make good on that promise of the first 2 rounds on me. So this cannot be goodbye, gentlemen. Way too final. This is. I'll see you later.
See you later.
See you later, man.
Woo! Well, folks, my interview with the boys in Dreamwake. And now it's time for Kevin's final thought. Man, they added saxophone in here as tastefully as you possibly could. When I listened to Stargazer for the first time, I'm like, man, they really put the sax in here and it really worked out. But then I listened to Daydream and I'm like, I'm curious as to see where they go with this because I didn't want to see this just become a shoehorn gimmick into their music because it is cool, it is sultry, it is sexy, it is suave, but I didn't want to see him overdo it. And as you go through the entire album, they don't. They put the saxophone in there where it's needed to be. They don't force it in where it doesn't need to be. And that allows the songs to have much more of this reflective feel to them that this album is trying to put forward. You're thinking about things in your past. You're thinking about these positive things from when you were a kid. You're thinking about these ideas of, times that have gone by. They brought up Cold Summer, and that is a perfect song to have that feeling of summer is not what it used to be when you were a kid. It's not as fun anymore. It's not as cool anymore. It's not the thing you look forward to the most. And it's kind of sad in that way. But then you go to VHS Dreams and you kind of get that centered feeling of looking back at all the great things that your childhood brought to you. And you don't have to lose that inner child. You can still have that wonderment and still find greatness and find happiness in the world, even when so many things are being thrown your way. The Synthwave provides a nostalgic look back at it. The saxophone provides that feeling of, you know what? Things were pretty good back then, and I can still have those feelings today if I really want to. And the heaviness just drives this album forward. You got to see this live, you got to experience it, and you got to listen to this album in full. I want to thank the boys from Dreamwake again. That is Bobby, Dave, Kevin, and Andrew for coming on the podcast for the first time in 4 years. To find everything Dreamwake, go script for the podcast below. You can find where to find them on social media, where to find the album, where to listen to it, where to find them on tour, where to get some merch, and of course, where to enjoy everything they have. You can also find us online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, links to the podcast below. Hit the subscribe button right down here if you're on YouTube. Hit the subscribe or follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The like button on the episodes to help push us in the algorithm. I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast, and that's going to be it for me. Everybody, thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. I'm Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. So big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!